Hi, thank you so much for inviting me here to speak today. We are going to be going through a lot to learn. We're going to be looking at measuring your social media success. So get your pen and paper ready to take notes and turn off all of your different devices so that you don't miss anything. So I know as much as the next girl how easy it is to get distracted by emails, texts, and social media. So on this webinar, we are going to be going through everything that involves measuring your social media marketing success. You're going to learn how to set SMART goals for your social media marketing and how to differentiate between vanity metrics and actionable metrics. We'll also go through each social media goal and how to measure it, what KPIs to keep an eye out, and how to use the results from all of these measurements. At the end, we'll also go through some of the most useful tools that you can use to measure your social media success. Now let's get started. Just like with any of your marketing efforts, social media marketing is an investment. You spend a lot of time every day managing it and thinking of new ways of improving your results. You're spending a lot of money on social media tools, people to manage it, consultants, and so on. And you're also using social media marketing to get results, whatever those may be. The only way you can assure your time and money are well spent and that you're heading towards achieving your goals from social media is to measure your results. To put it simply, there are two main reasons why you need to measure your social media ROI. First, so that you can see whether the resources you're investing in are paying off. And second, so you can see what is working and what isn't, which in turn will help improve your social media strategy. Because of this, measuring your social media success is more than just a means of controlling your spending and making sure you're not throwing money away at something that isn't working as you want it to. Rather, it's a way of identifying what works and what doesn't, so that you can use that knowledge and get better results from social media in the future. Most marketing efforts are easier to measure. For example, say you've created an ad campaign. You can easily track all of the clicks the ad got, as well as the conversions with the built-in analytics. Similarly, if you've sent an email to your list with an exclusive offer, you can easily track who clicked on that link and who bought from you. With social media marketing, though, things can get more complex. It's not as easy to measure some of the common social media goals. The reason for this, and what makes measuring your social media ROI so challenging in some cases, is that not all of your goals are easily quantifiable, particularly monetarily. Consider engagement, for example. Engagement is extremely important, and it is often a clear indicator of a successful social media campaign. But at the end of the day, it doesn't exactly bring in any income directly, or at the very least not one that you can measure accurately. So how can you know whether your social media marketing is successful? It's quite simple, really, by setting clear goals. If you want to measure your social media marketing results, you first need to set your goals from social media. Ask yourself, what do you want to achieve? Think about it this way. If you don't know what you want to achieve, how can you figure out whether you've reached success or not achieved it, as the case may be? So before you start measuring, set your goals. Now, these could be to increase the amount of traffic to your website, to increase your brand awareness, to drive more conversions and make more sales, to find more qualified leads, to increase loyalty and build a community of brand advocates, to manage your public image and your customer service, or to gain social media influence. There are quite a few goal-setting techniques that you can use, but one of the best ones, in my opinion, is the SMART way. With this technique, you're accounting for everything. First, be specific. The more specific you are, the better. For example, if you want to gain more traffic, you would use something like increase my Facebook traffic by 20%. Just saying you want to increase your traffic in general won't be of much help, as you won't be able to accurately measure your success. So if your traffic has increased by 2%, for example, does that mean your campaign was a success? Be specific, and if you can, include some numbers, all the better. Next, your goal needs to be measurable. Otherwise, how will you know whether you've achieved it? And when it comes to social media marketing, it can be particularly challenging to measure your goals. Goals also need to be attainable. When you set a goal, ask yourself this: can I actually achieve this goal Or is this just wishful thinking? How realistic is your goal? For example, you might want to double your conversions from social media in the space of a month, but is that really achievable? Or are you setting yourself up for failure? Social media marketing takes time to grow, so you need to be extra considerate of the attainability of your set goals. Be true to yourself. Is your goal relevant? Will achieving this goal make a true difference to your overall success? How will achieving this goal, or failing to achieve it, impact your overall business objectives and values? And finally, is your goal time-bound? You need to give your goal a clear deadline, but be careful that it's a realistic deadline, one that can actually be achieved. As I mentioned earlier, social media takes time to grow and provide results, so you need to take that into account when setting your deadline. When setting these goals, be honest with yourself. Don't bite more than you can chew, and don't expect everything to happen at once. Before we go any further, I think that it's very important to make the distinction between vanity metrics and actionable metrics. Vanity metrics are that you will usually make you feel good about yourself. Think number of followers or likes for your profiles. But at the end of the day, they can't actually help you make any decisions regarding your social media strategy. Sure, it's great to have more followers, but what can you do with that information after? Now, while these metrics still matter, it's much better to focus on actionable metrics. These are metrics that, by contrast, allow you to take action. An example of such a metric is traffic. One of the ways that you can use it is to focus your attention on the one social network that consistently brings in more traffic, if that is your goal. Or, when looking at all of your different content, you can learn about what types of posts tend to drive the most traffic and use that information to take action, namely to create more of those types of posts while leaving the posts that don't bring in any traffic. Other actionable social media metrics that can be found are the number of clicks, the number of leads you find, or the number of conversions you make. Now that you've got all of that out of the way, let's look at each different type of goal to establish the main KPIs that you will need to measure in order to measure your social media success. Social media is a great tool for increasing website and blog traffic. You can use it to promote your blog posts and other content, to promote your exclusive offers, create giveaways and competitions, and to promote your services or products with the goal of getting more traffic to your website. Thankfully, it's also one of the easier and more straightforward goals to measure. First, make sure you know exactly what your goal is. Set an exact number, like for example, to raise your traffic by 10% on Twitter in 2 months. The more specific you can be, the better. Then it's time to start tracking your success. One of the ways that you can do this easily is by using a custom URL, such as Googly or Bitly. Although a word of warning, with Bitly, others can also check your stats by adding a plus sign to the end of the link. So I would personally recommend using Googly. Use a URL shortener for all the links you post on social media, going to your blog or website. Although the analytics for URL shorteners are limited, it will allow you to see exactly how many clicks your links got. The best way, in my opinion, is to use Google URL shorteners in conjunction with Google Analytics. With Google Analytics, you will be able to see a much more detailed account of your traffic from social media, not just how much traffic you're getting, but also the quality of that traffic. You can check your total social traffic by going to acquisition, then all traffic, and finally channels. Then click on social to see a more detailed account of where your social media traffic is coming from exactly. Alternatively, you can also check your social media analytics by going to social and then network referrals. When you go through acquisition though, you get more interesting stats about your traffic. When measuring your social media traffic, you should also consider the quality of that traffic. After all, if people are clicking on your links but don't spend more than a few seconds on your website, then that traffic won't be of much help. To check the quality of the traffic, look at the bounce rate and the average session duration to find out how much time they spend once on your website. If you have a very high bounce rate from a source, you might even be better off focusing more of your attention on a social network that brings in less traffic, but that traffic actually stays on your website for a few minutes or even takes some sort of action. Another way of checking your traffic source's quality is to see whether they have completed any conversion goals you set. Goal analytics allows you to set different goals, such as having the visitor buy something or make a reservation, for example. Then you can also assign a monetary value to your goals. Once you set up goals, you will be able to track your conversions much easier. But I'll go into that in a little bit more detail later on. Another useful tool from Google Analytics is the user flow. Here you can see exactly what path your social media traffic took on your website. To check the user flow for your social media traffic, click on where it says country at the top of the user flow, then click on social, and finally click on social network. You can then highlight the traffic from any social network to see what their path on your website looked like. Social media is a great tool for getting your name seen and heard by the right people. Everyone and their mother is using social media, so it offers businesses a great platform for increasing their brand awareness. The beauty of social media is that you can reach all of these new demographics and connect with all sorts of different people without having to spend a fortune on ads and all kinds of other marketing techniques. It's a more organic way of getting your brand in front of the right eyeballs. The question now is, how exactly can you measure brand awareness? Admittedly, it's not nearly as easy as tracking your social traffic, but it's also not impossible to measure. The first instinct, of course, is to check the number of followers. However, we've already talked about how your follower number is mostly a vanity metric. One that might make you feel good, but ultimately it won't help you make any decisions or take any action. Not to mention, follower numbers are not always that accurate. Just because you've increased your number of followers, it doesn't mean that those followers are in any way interested in what you have to say. Harsh, maybe, but very true. For example, on Twitter, so many people only follow so that they can get a follow back. And unless you take a more in-depth look at your audience, namely their interests and their industry or niche, the number in itself doesn't really matter. They'll give you an idea of how you can increase brand awareness, but you can use other metrics to check whether you've achieved your goal. For one, you can once again use Google Analytics. While an increase in traffic can be a sign of increased brand awareness, it's actually other metrics that can help better determine your involvement. Although it doesn't necessarily mean the results are correlated with your social media marketing efforts, particularly if you're using other promotional tactics. It can, however, give you a better idea of your success, and it can be used in conjunction with social media analytics. I'll show you how in a minute. So on Google Analytics, go to Acquisition, then All Traffic and Channels to see your direct traffic. This is traffic that didn't come to your website by somehow entering your URL directly in the address bar. In the same place, also check your social media traffic. How many are new versus returning? This will help show you whether you've reached a larger audience and in a meaningful way that they are willing to check out your website. But the best way to determine how successful you are on social media in terms of brand awareness is to use social listening or monitoring, if you will. You should set up a search for your brand name, as not everyone is going to use your handle when mentioning you. Then you should check first how many mentions you've received, as this is one of the best indicators for brand awareness. The number of followers you can get can also be an indicator for brand awareness, but it's not a particularly effective one, as we talked about earlier. Rather, you should take a look at your following versus engagement. Instead of looking at how many followers you have, check to see how your following and your engagement are both evolving together. If you operate in a larger territory, not just one city, you can also check to see what new regions you've reached on social media. Use a tool that can analyze your followers in depth and make a note of their locations worldwide. The more new geographical regions you're reaching on social media, the more you're increasing your brand awareness. While getting lots of traffic is great, that's not where the money is. The money is in making conversions, finding leads and making more sales. After all, don't we all want our website traffic to take action? This can be anything, for example, signing up for your newsletter, watching an ad or video, stay on the website for a particular length of time, buy something, download an ebook or other freebies, sign up for a free trial. But at the end of the day, what constitutes as a conversion is completely up to you, just so long as the visitor takes an action that takes them one step further in the sales funnel. The issue is, it's a little bit more difficult to track on your success with social media conversions. Earlier on, we discussed setting goals in Google Analytics, and this is arguably the best way to track conversions. To set a goal, go to Acquisition, Overview, and then click on Get Started under Set Up a Goal. You can then use one of their available templates or create your own custom goal. There are 4 main categories to choose from. First, there's revenue-related goals. These can be signing up for a reservation or making a payment or appointment. Next, you can set up an acquisition goal, meaning someone created an account or signed up. Goals can also be inquiries, for example, when a visitor checks out a product or service page, when they check out your contact page or your business's location, required an estimate, or they checked your inventory or schedule. And finally, you can also set up an engagement goal, which means that the visitor played some sort of interactive media on your website, such as a video or product demo or a slideshow. Once you set these conversion goals, you can also assign them a monetary value so that you can be more accurate when measuring your conversion success. Now, they'll be able to see by going to acquisition all traffic and then all channels what your goal conversion rate is, how many goal completions were achieved, and the total monetary value of those conversions from social networks. If you're using lead generation cards, such as on Twitter, for example, you can easily track your new subscribers with the social network's built-in analytics. Social media can also be a great source for finding qualified leads. As you grow in popularity, they might be coming directly to you or finding you on social media. It can be that you're looking for leads yourself, for example, by using social media monitoring. To measure these results, you need to keep track of every qualified lead you gain via social media. I would recommend getting a customer relationship management tool where you add all of your qualified leads, then group these leads with tags and comments that identify them as coming from social media. You can also use Google Analytics goals once again to track conversions. Focus on the following types of goals. So when someone signs up for your newsletter or subscriber list or any other program available on your website or blog, when someone checks out your product or service page, as well as your contact page or your business location, or when they viewed a sales-related video or slideshow on your website. Many businesses use social media simply so that they can interact and engage with their audience. Engagement, although it doesn't bring in any income directly, is still one of the most important aspects of a successful social media presence. The more people interact with you organically, the bigger the chances that you will achieve any other goal from social media marketing. More engagement means more clicks and more traffic. It can help improve your reach and brand awareness, and it helps you gain much more social media influence and much, much more. Thankfully, it's also one of the easiest social media goals to measure. To track your engagement, there are a few main metrics that you need to keep an eye out for. First, there's the amount of mentions you get. Ideally, you shouldn't rely on the mentions you see on the particular social network's analytics page or what your social media management tool tells you. As I mentioned earlier, some people will mention your brand name without using your social media handle, and the only way to track all of those mentions accurately is to perform a monitoring search for your brand name. Most social media management tools such as Agorapulse or S.M.A.R.T Social do this, or you can use a dedicated social media monitoring tool like Brand24 or Brandwatch, which can perform more in-depth searches across several social networks. For the rest of the metrics, you need to check to gauge your engagement. You can use the social network's built-in analytics and most social media management tools that also offer analytics. Check to see whether you're getting more comments, how many people are taking the time to leave a comment on your social media posts, how many likes are they getting, and any other important metrics like how many shares or retweets are the posts getting. Through continuous engagement with your social media friends, fans and followers, and by consistently posting great content, you can start building a community of brand advocates and loyal fans. Brand advocates are amazing tools to have. There's nothing more effective than having a regular person with no vested interest in your business promoting your business to their friends and followers. Word of mouth continues to be one of the most effective forms of marketing. Now that we have social media, word of mouth can really be taken to the next level. To track the amount of brand advocates you have for your business, you can use a tool that tags them as such automatically, such as Agorapulse. They provide a customer relationship management tool which automatically highlights any brand ambassadors that are following you. That said, most social media analytics tools will also tell you who are your top users. These are the users that are consistently sharing your content with their own followers and interacting with you. Keep track of the growth of these numbers to find out how you're evolving over time. And once you've identified your brand advocates, make sure to engage with them and try to reward them in some way to keep them as your advocates and ambassadors. By growing these relationships, you're increasing your chances of them continuing to help promote your business among their followers, sharing your content and engaging with you, all completely for free, as opposed to using social influencers. Another common use for social media is to manage a business's public online image and their customer service. Most of your target audience are likely to be using social media, so they are also likely to check out businesses via whatever social platform they might be using. Not to mention, people are increasingly using social media to ask businesses questions about their products or services, as well as to make comments about them and even complaints. Because of this, businesses need to be on top of these mentions and respond to any customer service issues as soon as possible. Not doing so can be damaging to your overall brand image, but if you're quick to respond, polite, and most importantly, truly helpful, can actually be very beneficial to your image. For example, look at this exchange between Sainsbury's and a customer who wanted to buy some battered fish from the popular supermarket chain, but the product didn't have a barcode. What would normally be a customer service issue turned into a hilarious conversation between the two, filled with fishy puns which attracted a lot of engagement and positive attention towards Sainsbury's. Now the question is, how good are you at managing your customer service? The best way to determine this is to use a social media management tool that also provides team management capabilities and analytics. Then you'll be able to track exactly what each team member managing your social media marketing is doing, how long it takes each one to respond to mentions and questions, and what the response rate is like. Whether you're an entrepreneur or have a business, or even if you're a regular person, social media provides a perfect platform for growing your online influence. By becoming more influential on social media, it will be that much easier to forge relationships with social influencers in your niche, as well as to gain more engagement, more followers, more brand advocates, and more traffic to your website. It can even help you become a thought leader in your niche, and it will be easier to get people to trust you and your business. How can you measure social media influence though? As you've probably come to expect from me, I don't think it's the number of fans or followers that determines your influence. You could have hundreds of thousands of followers, but if they're not actively interacting with you, sharing your content, engaging in conversations and so on, then those numbers don't really mean much. To check your own influence, you can start by using a tool like Cloud. What it does is study your entire social media presence and your metrics to give us a score to your influence. Basically, the higher the score, the better. And although it's more of a vanity metric, the science behind it is pretty good, and it can give you an idea of your progress towards achieving influence. The more your score improves, the more it shows that not only are you active on social media, but that you are also likely to be getting more comments and mentions and the like. Another way of determining your influence is to look at how your engagement levels evolve over time. Are you starting to get more shares and retweets for your social media and blog posts? Are there more people leaving comments on your posts or trying to engage in conversations with you? Are people starting to come to you with questions about your niche? Now that we've gone through all of these different social media goals and how to measure them, the question now is, how can you use these results? Why do you need to measure them, and how they can help you improve? It's not enough to just measure your social media success, but you also have to use this knowledge to further grow your success. As I mentioned towards the beginning of this webinar, one of the main reasons for measuring your social media ROI is so that it can help you improve your overall social media strategy. When you're measuring for any social media goal, try to also identify what exactly is helping you achieve that goal, or alternatively, what is keeping you from achieving it. To put it simply, you should use your social media analytics to find what is working and what isn't. Then you can use that knowledge to focus more of your resources, both time and money, to focus on the things that actually work. Here are a few examples of what you can learn from carefully studying your social media analytics and from measuring your results. Which social platforms work and which don't work? If you're using a few different social networks to promote your business, you should check to see which one works for you and which doesn't bring in any notable results. You can then give up altogether on one of the social networks, or you can simply focus more of your attention on the one that works best. What type of content gets you the best results? Just like with blogging, your overall social media success will be largely due from the content that you post. If your content attracts people's attention and it gets them to interact in some way, such as by sharing it with their followers or leaving a comment, then you're that much closer to achieving your social media goals. In order to improve your success, you should carefully study your social media content to see what works and what doesn't. And once you do, try to find the common link between your most successful content as well as among your least successful content. Why do some posts get more shares, more likes, more comments? And how can you replicate that success? It could be the format of the post, like for example, your followers tend to prefer images, or it could be the actual content of your update. Check for any big boosts in engagement or social media traffic. What is their cause? It could be a particular post that you shared that was very successful with your audience, or it can be that the right person shared one of your posts. Once you identify the cause, use that knowledge to try to replicate this success again in the future. Generally, it's a good idea to focus a lot of your attention to the posts you share on social media and what makes them successful, or, as the case may be, unsuccessful. After all, it's the content you post that leads to more engagement, more shares, more comments, and so on. Now let's go through some useful tools that you can use to measure your social media success. I already mentioned Agorapulse once or twice throughout this webinar, and the reason for it is because I think it is one of the best social media management tools, but also because it has some very useful analytics tools. You can use it to track your brand awareness over time, as well as to see your publishing and engagement stats together, so that you can get a better idea of how your efforts compare with audience engagement. In terms of audience insights, they provide a very capable CRM tool. What I like most about it is that they automatically tag any social media influencers or brand ambassadors that are in your list. As a plus, you can organize your followers with tags and notes, so you can keep track of qualified leads from social media and other important fans and followers. You can also analyze your content in depth in order to find out what your best and worst content is in terms of its success with your audience. Agorapulse can track your team management metrics as well, so that you can see what your response rate is, how long it takes each user to respond to customer service issues, and so on. Quintly is a professional social media analytics platform, so you can get very in-depth details and analytics for Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Google+, LinkedIn, Instagram, and even blogs. Basically, you can use it to track everything that is social media. You can customize your dashboard as you like and even adjust metrics to your heart's desire. You can also set up all the metrics and KPIs that matter to you so that you can be rest assured that the tool is collecting them for you. There are features that allow you to create competitive benchmark reports against industry standards or your competitors, and to track your customer care with monitoring and response time. Hashtagify is a tool for discovering hashtags, top influencers in any niche, and for tracking Twitter and Instagram hashtags. If you've created a hashtag campaign that you need to track, you can use Hashtagify to track your success and get detailed reporting on your results. At a glance, you will be able to see how many users are using the hashtag, how many tweets or posts were sent using the hashtag, how many daily or total impressions the tweets or posts made, and so on. Brandwatch also allows you to delve deeper into social media users' activities so that you can find out key customer insights. It's mainly a web monitoring and analytics tool that you can use to track consumer feedback, find out what social trends are happening in your niche that could affect your brand or business, monitor for customer service issues or mentions in general, and find out what the sentiment surrounding your business or one of your hashtags is. What makes Brandwatch stand out is how powerful the tool is, particularly their social listening tools. They provide very in-depth insights into your social media, and they also provide actionable metrics that will help you determine exactly what people are saying about you and your business, and what the sentiment behind their social media update is. Brand24 is a similar tool to Brandwatch. You can use it for monitoring the web, but particularly social media. As a professional web and social media monitoring tool, you'll get more in-depth analytics and you can perform more complex monitoring searches. You can use it to track all of your social media mentions, as well as to analyze the sentiment behind them. You can also use it for customer service, as you can respond directly from the tool's dashboard to any customer questions. Then you can also compare your social media mentions and presence against your competitors, as well as monitor their activity along with yours. Trender is a social media analytics tool that offers solutions to both small and big businesses, as well as small or big agencies. They provide very detailed reporting for most major social networks, namely Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And they help you keep track of all of the most important social media stats, such as engagement, content insights, audience insights, customer service. And you can even use it to keep track of your admin duties. With Trender, you can also set up automatic reporting with the data you need and receive tips and recommendations based on that data. Meltwater is a monitoring tool and analytics tool for social media marketers and businesses. It's a particularly great tool for tracking your online brand awareness. For example, you can use it to track your media coverage over time, make comparisons or share a voice with your competitors, as well as figure out what the sentiment surrounding your brand is. You can even use Meltwater to measure your PR ROI with the advertising value equivalency feature. So there we go. We've gone through all of the top social media goals that can be set. The most important things to remember here is that you need to start by setting goals to use your social media marketing as soon as possible. Use the SMART way of setting goals to set realistic and measurable goals, and then check the relevant metrics to measure your success. It's important as well to keep in mind that social media takes time to grow and get results. You can't expect to boost your results across the board within a month, or you'll be sorely disappointed. But although it takes time to grow, once it does, social media has the power to become one of your top sources of traffic and engagement with your audience. And not to mention, it can also help you become an amazing source of qualified leads. Make sure to track your results regularly, particularly when you've reached a goals deadline. Thank you so much.